The series name is What If Naruto Was in Soul Eater? So let's start the series. The air in Death City always tasted like dust and dried blood, a perpetual tang of copper that clung to the back of the throat. It was a taste Naruto Uzumaki was quickly learning to ignore as she stepped off the rattling bus and onto the sun-baked asphalt of the main thoroughfare. She shielded her eyes with a hand, squinting up at the impossible structure that dominated the skyline. The Death Weapon Meister Academy. It wasn't just a school, it was a city within a city, a colossal, gothic fortress of black stone and pointed spires that clawed at the perpetually overcast sky. At its very peak, perched like a malevolent jewel, was the giant skull-shaped dome of Lord Death's chamber. The entire edifice radiated a palpable pressure, a wavelength of power so immense it made the tiny hairs on her arms stand on end. "Whoa," she breathed, a wide, genuine grin spreading across her face. The bus driver, a man with dead eyes and a perpetual twitch, had already slammed the doors shut and peeled away, leaving her standing alone with a single, worn duffel bag. This was it. The place her godfather had spoken of with such a strange mixture of reverence and dread. The place where weapons like her could learn to hone their soul, to find a meister, to become something more than just a vessel for a dangerous power. Naruto Uzumaki, she whispered to herself, the name a familiar anchor in this sea of strangeness. Let's do this. Her first stop, as per the instructions in the crumpled letter from the academy, was the admissions office. Navigating the labyrinthine hallways of the DWMA was a trial in itself. Students in the distinctive black and red uniforms swept past her, their conversations a low hum of wavelengths, soul perception, and upcoming missions. They all seemed to carry themselves with a certain confidence, an awareness that she, despite her own bravado, was still finding her footing. She caught a few curious glances directed her way, likely at her brightly colored orange jacket, a splash of chaotic warmth against the school's severe monochrome. The admissions office was a cramped, paper-filled room manned by a clerk who looked like he hadn't seen sunlight in a decade. He processed her forms with the enthusiasm of a man sorting gravel, his soul a dull thing that barely flickered. He handed her a key, a class schedule, and a map. Dormitories on the East Wing. New student orientation is in the main hall tomorrow at 0800. Don't be late, he droned, his eyes never quite focusing on her face. Got it. Thanks, mister. Naruto chirped, undeterred by his apathy. She had faced far worse than a grumpy clerk. The dormitory was sparse but clean. A small bed, a desk, a closet, and a window that offered a breathtaking view of the academy's central courtyard. She tossed her bag on the bed and sat down heavily, the silence of the room suddenly pressing in on her. The grin faded from her face, replaced by a look of profound loneliness that she usually kept hidden. Her gaze drifted to a small, worn photograph she had carefully packed. It showed a kind-faced elderly man with a warm smile and a young girl with whisker-like marks on her cheeks, sitting on the porch of a modest house. Gigi. Her grandfather. The thought of him sent a sharp pang of longing through her chest. He wasn't her grandfather by blood, but he was the only family she had ever known. He had found her, a feral, orphan child with a soul that burned too brightly and held a terrible secret, and he had loved her without question. He taught her to cook, to laugh, to find joy in simple things. He also taught her to be careful, to never let anyone see the darkness that coiled like a serpent in the depths of her soul. The world sees the sun, Naruto, he would say, his voice a gentle rumble. But it's the shadows that define its shape. You have both within you. You must learn to control the shadows, or they will consume the light. She tucked the photo away, the familiar weight of that secret settling back onto her shoulders. Here, at a school full of people who could perceive souls, the risk of exposure was 1,000 times greater. She had to be strong. She had to be normal. She had to keep the madness locked away. A knock at her door startled her from her thoughts. She opened it to find a young man with spiky white hair and a perpetual, bored expression. He was tall and lanky, leaning against the doorframe with an air of lazy authority. A striped scarf was wound loosely around his neck. "You're the new transfer?" "Uzumaki?" he asked, his voice as flat as his expression. "Yeah, that's me," Naruto said, the cheerful mask snapping back into place. "And you are?" "Soul Eater," he said, pushing off the frame and offering a slight nod. "My meister, Maka, saw you checking in. She wanted to welcome you, but she got roped into a study session with Black Star. I drew the short straw." He didn't sound particularly thrilled about it. "Basically, don't die on your first day. And stay away from the third-floor bathroom. It's haunted by a perverted ghost." He turned to leave. "Wait." Naruto called out. "Thanks. I think." He just raised a hand in a lazy wave and disappeared down the corridor. It was a weird welcome, but it was a welcome nonetheless. It gave her a small sliver of hope. Maybe this place wouldn't be so bad after all. The next morning, Naruto navigated the bustling hallways towards the main hall for orientation, her new uniform feeling stiff and unfamiliar. The black jacket with its red lining was a far cry from her orange one, but she had to admit, it looked pretty sharp. As she rounded a corner, she nearly collided with a small group of students. "Hey, watch it," one of them, a boy with slicked back hair, snapped. "Sorry. My bad." Naruto apologized, flashing a placating grin. The group's leader, a girl with sharp eyes and an even sharper soul wavelength, looked Naruto up and down with undisguised curiosity. Her gaze seemed to pierce right through her. "You're the new weapon, right? An untransformed type," she said. It wasn't really a question. "What's your deal? What kind of weapon are you?" Naruto's smile tightened. This was the question she dreaded. I'm still figuring that out," she said, which was a half-truth. She could feel the form, a bladed weapon of some kind, but it was unstable. It was tied too closely to the madness. Transforming fully felt like opening a door she wasn't sure she could close. The girl's eyes narrowed, her soul pressing against Naruto's own for a brief, intrusive moment. It felt like a cold finger poking at a bruise. A flicker of something dark stirred in Naruto's chest, and she instinctively pulled back, shielding herself. "Humph. A mysterious one," the girl sniffed, losing interest. "Come on, let's go." The group swept past her, their dismissive laughter echoing in the hall. Naruto let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. That was close. Too close. She had to be more careful. She couldn't let anyone sense what was inside her. The main hall was a colossal chamber, filled with hundreds of students. At the front, a massive, floating podium stood empty. The murmuring crowd fell silent as a booming, cheerful voice echoed through the space. "Good morning, students." A giant, disembodied head with a striped, floppy hat and an unervingly wide, perpetual grin materialized on the podium. It was Lord Death, the headmaster of the DWMA. Despite his cartoonish appearance, the sheer power radiating from him was staggering. It was an ocean compared to the puddle of the admissions clerk. His wavelength was so immense it felt like a physical pressure, a deep, resonant hum that vibrated in her very bones. "Welcome to a brand new semester. We have a few new faces with us today, and I expect you all to make them feel welcome. Now, let's get down to business." He clapped his giant, gloved hands together, the sound like a thunderclap. The orientation consisted of rules, warnings about Kishin eggs, and a rather rambling explanation of the school's grading system from Lord Death. Naruto tried to pay attention, but her mind kept wandering. She studied the other students, their souls appearing as flickering flames of various colors and intensities in her perception. Most were small, steady, unremarkable. But some blazed like bonfires. She spotted the white-haired boy, Soul, standing next to a serious-looking girl with short, green hair and a book clutched to her chest. That must be Maka. Nearby, a loud, blue-haired boy was practically vibrating with energy, shouting, "I am the great black star. And I will surpass even the gods." His soul was a chaotic, brilliant inferno. It was then that she saw her. Off to the side, almost hidden behind a pillar, stood a girl about her age with long, ash-blonde hair that fell in soft waves around a pale, delicate face. Her eyes were a deep, frightened violet, and she was staring at the ground, her hands clutching the straps of her school bag so tightly her knuckles were white. She seemed to be trying to make herself as small and invisible as possible. But her soul was anything but invisible. It was the most beautiful soul Naruto had ever seen. It wasn't a roaring fire like black stars, or a powerful ocean like Lord Death's. It was like a softly glowing lantern in a dense fog. Gentle. Warm. Kind. But there was a deep, pervasive loneliness to it, a sadness that resonated with something profound within Naruto. It was the soul of someone who was utterly, completely alone. Naruto couldn't look away. It was like finding a kindred spirit without even speaking a word. The girl, as if sensing the intensity of the stare, looked up. Their eyes met for a single, heart-stopping moment. The girl's eyes widened in surprise, a faint blush coloring her cheeks, before she quickly looked away, shrinking further behind the pillar. A nudge from the student next to her brought Naruto back to reality. Orientation was over. The crowd was shuffling towards the exits. Naruto tried to find the girl again, but she had vanished into the sea of students. For the rest of the day, she couldn't get that soul out of her head. The gentle light, the profound loneliness. It was a mirror of her own hidden self. A few days later, Naruto found herself wandering the academy grounds, trying to familiarize herself with the layout. She had managed to avoid any more soul-probing encounters, but the constant effort of keeping her walls up was exhausting. She found a quiet courtyard, hidden behind a cluster of gnarled, old trees, and sat on a stone bench with a sigh of relief. The crunch of gravel made her tense up. She wasn't alone. The ash-blonde girl from the orientation was there, sitting on the ground with her back against a tree, a sketchbook open in her lap. She was so engrossed in her drawing that she hadn't noticed Naruto. Her face, no longer pinched with fear, was soft and focused. Naruto watched as her pencil moved with a quiet confidence, capturing the delicate shape of a fallen leaf. Naruto knew she should leave, that she was intruding on a private moment. But she was rooted to the spot. The peacefulness of the scene was a balm to her own frayed nerves. Then, the girl's pencil slipped. She fumbled for it, and in the process, knocked her sketchbook off her lap. It landed open on the gravel with a soft thump. The girl flinched, her eyes darting around in panic, and landed directly on Naruto. For a second, they just stared at each other. Then, pure terror flooded the girl's features. She scrambled to grab her sketchbook, her movements clumsy with fright. "Wait," Naruto said, standing up quickly and holding out her hands. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare you. I was just sitting here." The girl froze, clutching her sketchbook to her chest like a shield. Her wide, violet eyes were fixed on Naruto, searching for any sign of malice. Naruto could feel her soul flicker with fear, a painful thing to witness. She slowly, carefully, sat back down on the bench, making her movements as non-threatening as possible. "It's okay," Naruto said softly, her voice the same gentle tone Gigi used when she was scared as a child. "I'm Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki. I'm new here. I saw you at orientation." The girl's trembling eased, just a fraction. She gave a tiny, almost imperceptible nod. I know," she whispered, her voice so quiet Naruto had to strain to hear it. "You're the weapon with the very bright soul." Naruto's heart lurched. "Oh no. You can see it?" The girl nodded again, her grip on the sketchbook loosening slightly. "A little. It's hard not to. It's like looking at the sun." She hesitated, then added, even more quietly, "It's warm." No one had ever called the raging, dangerous power inside her warm. Naruto felt a lump form in her throat. She smiled, a real, unguarded smile that reached her eyes. "What's your name?" The girl seemed surprised by the question, as if she wasn't used to people asking. "Sakura," she murmured. "Sakura Hannelore." "It's nice to meet you, Sakura," Naruto said, and she meant it with every fiber of her being. Sakura just stared at her, as if trying to figure out if this was some kind of elaborate prank. But Naruto's soul, despite its overwhelming brightness, held no deceit. It was open, honest, and achingly lonely. Just like hers. Do you come here a lot?" Naruto asked, gesturing to the courtyard. "It's really pretty. Quiet." Sakura looked around, as if seeing the hidden courtyard for the first time. "It's my spot," she admitted. "No one else comes here." "Well, now two people do," Naruto said cheerfully, then immediately worried she had overstepped. "I mean, if that's okay. I can totally find another spot. I don't want to intrude." A tiny, hesitant smile touched the corner of Sakura's lips. It was a fragile, fleeting thing, but it transformed her entire face. "It's okay." From that day on, the hidden courtyard became their spot. Naruto would seek Sakura out between classes, and slowly, painstakingly, she chipped away at the walls the other girl had built around herself. She learned that Sakura was in the EAT, especially advanced talent, class, a recent promotion that had only intensified her isolation. The other EAT students were already in established partnerships, leaving her as a permanent third wheel, a Meister without a weapon. Her parents, she learned one afternoon, were both prestigious Meisters who had died on a mission when she was young, leaving her in the care of a well-meaning but distant aunt and uncle who didn't quite know what to do with her quiet, sensitive niece. "They tried," Sakura said one day, her voice hollow as she sketched the gnarled roots of their tree. "They bought me art supplies. They paid for my tuition. But they didn't know how to talk to me. They still don't." Naruto's heart ached for her. She knew that feeling all too well. "My parents are gone, too," she said softly. "I never knew them. My godfather, he checks in, but he's always on missions. He's the one who arranged for me to come here." She thought of the gruff, scarred man who had taught her the basics of wielding her power, whose own soul was a fortress of duty and grief. "The only real family I had was my Gigi. He raised me." Sakura looked up from her sketchbook, her violet eyes filled with a shared sorrow. "What happened to him?" Naruto's smile was sad. "He's still alive. Back home." He's old, and he's frail. I had to leave. I couldn't put him in danger anymore. Sakura didn't ask what kind of danger. She just nodded, a silent understanding passing between them. In that moment, they were no longer just two lonely students. They were two orphans, bound by grief and a desperate, unspoken need for connection. One afternoon, about a week after they'd met, they were sitting in their usual spot. Sakura was sketching Naruto, who was trying, and failing, to do a handstand against the tree. A comfortable silence had settled between them, broken only by the scratch of Sakura's pencil and Naruto's grunts of effort. "Sakura," Naruto said, giving up on the handstand and flopping onto the grass. "Why don't you have a partner?" Sakura's pencil stilled. She didn't look up. "I'm not strong enough. My soul wavelength is too weak. It can't resonate properly with anyone." The words were recited, a bitter mantra she had clearly told herself 1,000 times. "The other weapons, they take one look at me and they know. They can feel it. I'm a liability." Naruto sat up, her expression fierce. "That's not true." Sakura finally looked at her, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. "You don't know that." "Yes, I do," Naruto insisted, scooting closer. "I've felt your soul, Sakura. It's not weak. It's the gentlest, kindest soul I've ever felt. Any weapon would be lucky to have a Meister like you." She paused, taking a deep breath. This was it. This was the moment that could either create a bond or shatter the fragile trust they'd built. "Sakura. I don't have a partner either." Sakura blinked. "But you're a weapon. You could have anyone. Your soul it's incredible." "It's also complicated," Naruto said, her voice dropping. "There are things about me, things I can't always control. Things that scare people." She looked directly into Sakura's eyes, her own gaze filled with a raw vulnerability she rarely showed anyone. "But when I'm with you, I don't feel scared. I feel calm. Your soul, it quiets the noise in my own." Sakura's breath hitched. She stared at Naruto, her mind racing. No one had ever said anything like that to her. She was always the one who needed calming, the one who needed protecting. The idea that she could be that for someone else, especially for someone with a soul as brilliant as Naruto's, was overwhelming. "Naruto, I don't know what to say," she whispered. "Say you'll be my Meister," Naruto said, the words tumbling out in a rush. "I know we don't know each other that well. I know we're both new at this. But I feel it, Sakura. I feel like we're supposed to be together. Like our souls, they fit." It was the most terrifying thing Naruto had ever said. More terrifying than facing the darkness inside her. She was offering Sakura the most vulnerable part of herself, and she had no idea if it would be accepted or rejected. Sakura was silent for a long moment. She looked down at her sketch of Naruto, capturing her friend's determined grin as she tried to do a handstand. Then she looked at the real Naruto, whose bright blue eyes held a desperate hope that mirrored her own. For the first time in her life, someone wasn't looking at her with pity or dismissal. They were looking at her with need. With trust. A single tear slid down Sakura's cheek. It was followed by a smile, the first truly happy, unburdened smile Naruto had ever seen on her face. "Okay," Sakura whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Okay, Naruto. I'll be your Meister." Naruto's face broke into a grin so wide it threatened to split her face. A joyful laugh bubbled up from her chest, a sound of pure, unadulterated relief and happiness. She launched herself at Sakura, wrapping her in a fierce hug. "Thank you, Sakura. Thank you. You won't regret it, I promise. We're gonna be the best team ever." Sakura, stiff with surprise for a moment, slowly relaxed into the embrace. She hesitantly brought her own arms up and hugged Naruto back. It felt right. It felt like coming home. The next day, they made it official. They went to Professor Stein's classroom to register as a formal Meister-weapon partnership. The room was cluttered with anatomical diagrams, strange scientific equipment, and the lingering smell of formaldehyde. Stein, a lanky man with a perpetual tired expression and a massive screw drilled through his left temple, looked up from the clipboard he was examining as they entered. His soul flickered with a cold, analytical curiosity. "Hannelore and Uzumaki," he said, his voice a low, thoughtful drawl. He pushed his glasses up his nose, his gaze lingering on Naruto for a beat too long. She felt a shiver run down her spine, as if his eyes were X-rays trying to peel back the layers of her soul. An interesting combination. The quiet, unpartnered Meister and the mysterious new weapon. He set the clipboard down. "Before I can approve this, I need to see a demonstration of your wavelength compatibility. A simple resonance. Nothing fancy. Naruto and Sakura exchanged a nervous glance. They hadn't actually tried to resonate yet. This was the true test. Okay, Naruto said, squaring her shoulders. We can do this. Sakura took a deep breath, her hand reaching out to rest on Naruto's shoulder. Just relax, Naruto. Let me guide you. Naruto closed her eyes, focusing on the gentle warmth of Sakura's hand. She let her walls down, just a little, and reached out with her soul. She felt Sakura's wavelength, soft and steady like a heartbeat. She didn't push, didn't try to dominate. She simply opened herself up, offering her own blazing light to Sakura's gentle lantern. I'm here, she thought. I'm with you. Sakura's wavelength pulsed, a soft, welcoming glow. It wrapped around Naruto's soul, not with force, but with acceptance. For the first time, Naruto didn't feel the need to hide the intensity of her light. She let it shine, and Sakura didn't flinch. She simply absorbed it, held it, and reflected it back, purified and calm. A soft, golden light began to emanate from both of them. It wasn't the violent, chaotic flare of Naruto's hidden power. It was something new. Something shared. A gentle, harmonious glow that filled the room. Stein watched, his expression unreadable. He pulled a small, wavelength measuring device from his pocket and held it up. The needle jumped, not with erratic spikes, but with a smooth, steady, and surprisingly powerful rhythm. Fascinating, he murmured. Your wavelengths are not just compatible. They're complementary. They create a third, entirely new wavelength. He jotted down a few notes. You're a perfect fit. He stamped their registration form without another word and handed it to them. Welcome to the DWMA, you too. Don't die. As they left the classroom, hand in hand, their souls still humming with the afterglow of their first resonance, Naruto felt a joy so profound it threatened to overwhelm her. She had found a home. She had found a partner. She had found a friend. She had finally found someone who looked at her soul and saw not a monster, but a person. For the first time in her life, Naruto Uzumaki felt like she truly belonged. She didn't know that the madness coiled within her was watching, waiting, biding its time. It had been quiet for so long, lulled by the peace of her new friendship. But it was not gone. It was merely patient. And it knew that the strongest light always casts the darkest shadow. 3 weeks into their partnership, Naruto Uzumaki had discovered that being Sakura Hannelor's weapon was the easiest thing she had ever done. The hard part was everything else. Hold still, Sakura murmured, her violet eyes narrowed in concentration as she pressed a cold compress to the fresh bruise blooming across Naruto's cheekbone. They were sitting in their usual spot in the hidden courtyard, the afternoon sun filtering through the gnarled trees in dappled patterns. Honestly, Naruto, you can't just challenge every upperclassman who looks at you wrong. Naruto winced but grinned through the pain. He said your soul wavelength was barely measurable. I couldn't just let that slide. The bruise was a gift from a cocky E-class weapon named Ren who had made the mistake of mocking Sakura within Naruto's earshot. The ensuing confrontation had lasted approximately 90 seconds before Naruto found herself flat on her back with a split lip and a rapidly swelling eye. Ren had walked away laughing. Sakura had walked away with her heart quietly shattering at the sight of her partner bleeding for her honor. You don't have to fight my battles for me, Sakura said softly, dabbing at the cut on Naruto's lip with an antiseptic wipe. Her touch was impossibly gentle, as if Naruto were made of spun glass. He wasn't wrong. Naruto caught Sakura's wrist, stilling her hand. Yes, he was. Her blue eyes, one slightly swollen, burned with fierce conviction. Your wavelength is gentle, Sakura. That's not weakness. It's the reason we can resonate so perfectly. You don't force my soul to bend to yours. You accept it. All of it. The last words came out quieter, weighted with a meaning Sakura couldn't fully grasp. Sakura's cheeks flushed pink. She pulled her hand free and busied herself repacking the small first aid kit she always carried. We should probably start training properly. Professor Stein said our compatibility was unusual. If we're going to be a real team, we need to practice. You're changing the subject. Yes. Naruto laughed, the sound bright and genuine despite her aching face. Okay. Training. What did you have in mind? What Sakura had in mind, it turned out, was a rigorous schedule of early morning meditation sessions to synchronize their wavelengths, followed by afternoons in one of the academy's many training grounds. They practiced the basics endlessly, Naruto attempting to maintain her weapon form while Sakura learned to wield her, the two of them struggling to achieve even the simplest resonance techniques. The weapon form was the biggest challenge. Naruto could feel the shape of herself as a blade, a katana, she thought, or perhaps something longer, more like a nodachi, but every time she tried to manifest it fully, something went wrong. The edges would blur. The form would waver. And deep in the pit of her stomach, the madness would stir, a serpent uncoiling in warning. Not yet, it seemed to whisper. Not ready. Not safe. So she settled for partial transformations, her body becoming a weapon in pieces. An arm hardened into steel. Fingers lengthened into razor-sharp claws. It was enough for practice, enough for Sakura to learn the weight and balance of her partner's soul made manifest. But it wasn't enough for a real mission. The DWMA doesn't assign missions to partial transformations, Sakura said one evening, frustration creeping into her usually gentle voice. They were sitting on the steps outside the main building, watching the sunset paint the death skull in shades of orange and red. We'll be stuck in training forever if you can't. I know. Naruto's voice was flat, devoid of its usual cheer. She pulled her knees up to her chest and rested her chin on them, staring at nothing. I know I'm holding us back. Sakura's heart clenched. That's not what I meant. Yes, it is. And you're right. Naruto's fingers traced absent patterns on the stone step. There's something wrong with me, Sakura. With my soul. It's not just bright. It's damaged. Complicated. The weapon form is tied to the damaged part, and every time I try to reach for it, the damaged part reaches back. The confession hung between them, heavy and raw. Sakura didn't speak for a long moment. Then she did something that surprised them both. She reached out and took Naruto's hand, lacing their fingers together. Then we'll work with what we have, Sakura said quietly. Partial transformations. We'll be so good at partial transformations that no one will care about the full form. And when you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'll be there. Naruto turned to look at her partner, and for a moment, Sakura saw something flicker in those blue eyes. Something old and dark and terrified. But then Naruto blinked, and it was gone, replaced by a watery smile. You're too good for me, you know that? I know. Sakura's lips twitched into a rare, teasing smile. But I'm stuck with you now. Their laughter mingled in the fading light, two lonely souls finding warmth in each other. Neither of them noticed the shadow that detached itself from a nearby building and melted into the darkness, nor the pair of gleaming yellow eyes that watched them with predatory interest before disappearing into the night. The mission assignment came 3 days later. Naruto and Sakura were summoned to the administrative office, where a harried-looking clerk handed them a manila folder stamped with the DWMA's official seal. Inside was a single sheet of paper with sparse details. Mission classification, Kishin egg elimination target designation, Tora, provisional name, target type, Kishin tainted feline, class 2 threat location, abandoned industrial district, sector 7 partner assignment, Hannelore, Sakura, Meister, /Uzumaki, Naruto, weapon, mission parameters, locate and eliminate target before full Kishin transformation completes. That's it? Naruto asked, flipping the paper over as if expecting more information on the back. No details on what this Tora thing can do? No combat strategies? The clerk shrugged, already turning back to his mountain of paperwork. Class 2 threats are considered manageable for new teams. Consider it a trial by fire. Lord Death's philosophy, real experience beats theoretical training every time. That's insane, Sakura whispered as they left the office, the folder clutched to her chest like a live grenade. We've never even completed a full resonance. We've never fought anything more dangerous than training dummies. And they want us to hunt a Kishin? Naruto was quiet for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she squared her shoulders and flashed Sakura a grin that was only slightly forced. Then we'd better not let them down, right? Come on, partner. Let's go kill a cat. Sector 7 was a graveyard of industry. Abandoned factories loomed against the night sky like skeletal giants, their broken windows reflecting the sickly orange glow of distant streetlights. The air smelled of rust and chemical rot, a toxic perfume that coated the back of the throat and made Sakura's eyes water. Somewhere in the distance, a dog howled, the sound swallowed instantly by the oppressive silence. This place is creepy, Naruto muttered, her right arm already transformed into a bladed edge. She walked close to Sakura, her eyes scanning the darkness with an intensity that spoke of hard-won survival instincts. I don't like it. Sakura said nothing. Her soul perception was stretched to its limit, reaching out into the shadows like blind fingers searching for warmth. She could feel Naruto beside her, a bonfire of light and hidden darkness. She could feel the faint, flickering souls of rats and stray dogs hiding in the ruins. But beneath it all, there was something else. Something wrong. It's here, she breathed, stopping dead in the middle of a crumbling street. I can feel it. A soul like spoiled milk. Rancid and curdled. Naruto tensed, her transformed arm rising to a guard position. Where? Before Sakura could answer, a laugh echoed through the ruins. It was a horrible sound, high-pitched and mocking, like the warped echo of a child's glee twisted into something malevolent. It seemed to come from everywhere at once, bouncing off the dead buildings until it became a cacophony of madness. Well. The academy sent me snacks. A shape dropped from the fire escape of a nearby building, landing on the cracked asphalt with the impossible grace of a cat. It was roughly humanoid in shape, but wrong in every particular. Its limbs were too long, jointed in places that shouldn't bend. Its skin was covered in patchy, matted fur the color of dried blood. And its face was a nightmare fusion of woman and feline, with two wide yellow eyes and a mouth full of needle-sharp teeth stretched in a predatory grin. The creature, Tora, tilted its head, studying them with obvious amusement. A Meister and her weapon. Fresh from the nest, by the smell of you. It sniffed the air exaggeratedly, its nostrils flaring. Oh, but wait. What's this? The yellow eyes fixed on Naruto, and something shifted in their depths. Recognition. Hunger. You. Little weapon. Your soul, it's delicious. Like rot and honey. Like madness wrapped in sunshine. Naruto felt the words like physical blows. The madness in her chest stirred, uncoiling slightly, curious about this creature that could sense it. She gritted her teeth and forced it back down. Sakura, she said through clenched teeth. Now. Sakura didn't hesitate. She reached out with her soul, grasping for Naruto's wavelength. Connect. Resonate. Become. The meditation training took over, muscle memory for the soul. She felt Naruto's power surge to meet her, felt their wavelengths intertwine. And then Tora moved. It was faster than anything Sakura had ever seen. One moment it was 20 feet away, grinning its horrible grin. The next, it was beside them, a clawed hand slashing through the space where Sakura's head had been a heartbeat before. Naruto's transformed arm caught the blow, steel screeching against claw, sparks flying in the darkness. Run! Naruto screamed, shoving Sakura away even as she engaged the creature in a desperate flurry of strikes. Her blade arm carved furrows in Tora's hide, but the wound sealed almost instantly, the corrupted flesh knitting back together with sickening speed. I'm not leaving you. Sakura scrambled backward, her mind racing. Think. This is what we trained for. This is what. A tail wrapped around her ankle and yanked. Sakura hit the ground hard, the breath driven from her lungs. Tora's face loomed above her, those yellow eyes gleaming with sadistic pleasure. The creature had abandoned its fight with Naruto, using its prehensile tail to snatch the Meister while her weapon was off balance. Little Meister, Tora purred, its breath washing over Sakura in waves of rot. Such a gentle soul. Such a weak soul. I wonder what you'll taste like. Naruto. The scream was raw, desperate, the sound of a girl facing her own death and refusing to go quietly. It pierced the night like a blade. And something in Naruto answered. The madness roared. For one terrible moment, Naruto's control shattered. The serpent in her soul uncoiled fully, flooding her being with power that was not her own, that was never meant to be hers. Her body transformed, not partially, not hesitantly, but completely. She became a blade of impossible darkness, a katana forged from midnight and malice, its edge gleaming with a crimson light that hurt to look upon. She moved. There was no thought in it, no strategy. Only pure, primal instinct aimed at the thing threatening her partner. Tora saw her coming and tried to dodge. It was fast, faster than any natural creature had a right to be. But Naruto, in this form, was faster. The dark blade passed through the creature's torso like a shadow through smoke, leaving a wound that did not heal. Black ichor sprayed across the asphalt as Tora shrieked, a sound of agony and genuine terror. What are you? It howled, scrambling backward, one arm hanging uselessly where the blade had nearly severed it. That's not weapon energy. That's madness. The blade pulsed, and Naruto's voice emerged from it, but it was wrong. It echoed with harmonics that shouldn't exist, layered with whispers that came from somewhere deep and ancient. Run, the voice said. Run, or I will unmake you. Tora ran. The blade hovered in the air for a long moment, its crimson gleam painting the ruined buildings in shades of blood. Then, with a sound like breaking glass, it shattered. Naruto collapsed to the ground in her human form, unconscious, her face peaceful despite the violence that had just erupted from her soul. Sakura lay where she had fallen, staring at her partner with eyes wide with shock and something else. Something that tasted like fear. Naruto woke to the smell of antiseptic and the too bright glare of fluorescent lights. She was in the DWMA infirmary, she realized. A clean white sheet was tucked around her, and someone had placed a cool cloth on her forehead. She tried to sit up, and immediately regretted it as a wave of nausea crashed over her. Easy. A hand pressed gently on her shoulder, guiding her back to the pillow. Sakura's face swam into view, drawn and pale but undamaged. You're okay. We're both okay. The mission, Naruto croaked. Tora. Escaped. Sakura's voice was carefully neutral. But it's wounded. Badly. It won't be a threat for a while. Naruto closed her eyes, relief and shame warring in her chest. She remembered fragments. The creature's face above Sakura. The surge of power. The blade. And then nothing. What happened? After I transformed? Sakura was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was quiet. You saved my life. Tora was about to, and then you became something else. A weapon. A real weapon. Black and red and terrifying. She paused. It called you madness. Naruto's eyes opened. She looked at Sakura, searching her partner's face for the rejection she knew must be coming. The fear. The disgust. But all she saw was confusion and concern and something that looked painfully like loyalty. Sakura, the words stuck in her throat. How could she explain something she didn't fully understand herself? How could she ask for acceptance when she carried poison in her soul? Naruto. Sakura's hand found hers, squeezing gently. You saved my life. Whatever else is true, that's true. We'll figure out the rest together. Okay? Naruto nodded, not trusting herself to speak. The tears came anyway, sliding silently down her cheeks. Sakura said nothing. She just sat there, holding her partner's hand, keeping watch as the night deepened outside the infirmary windows. Neither of them noticed the shadow that flickered at the edge of the room, nor the cold, analytical eyes that watched them from the darkness before melting away to carry news to higher powers. The summons came the next morning. Naruto, still weak but determined to face whatever consequences awaited her, stood beside Sakura in the antechamber to Lord Death's personal quarters. The walls were lined with grotesque artwork, paintings of souls being judged, of Kishin being sealed, of the eternal battle between order and madness. It was not a comforting space. Nervous? Sakura whispered. Terrified, Naruto admitted. You? Also terrified. They shared a look that was almost a smile, then the massive doors before them swung open with a groan of ancient hinges. Come in, come in. Lord Death's cheerful voice boomed from within. Don't be shy. They entered. Lord Death's chamber was exactly as overwhelming as the rest of the academy suggested. The giant floating head with its striped hat and perpetual grin dominated the space, but he was not alone. Beside him stood a man with long white hair and a kind, weathered face, his soul blazing with the unmistakable signature of a death scythe. Spirit Alburn. And on a raised platform nearby, a figure sat in shadow, watching them with an intensity that made Naruto's skin crawl. Students Hannelore and Uzumaki. Lord Death clapped his gloved hands together. I've read the mission report. Fascinating stuff. Absolutely fascinating. A Class 2 threat, driven off by an incomplete resonance and an uncontrolled transformation. He leaned forward, his massive face filling their field of vision. Care to explain the uncontrolled transformation part, Uzumaki? Naruto swallowed hard. My partner was in danger. I had to protect her. Yes, loyalty is admirable. But that's not what I'm asking. The grin on Lord Death's face didn't waver, but something in his wavelength shifted, becoming sharper, more penetrating. I'm asking about the madness I sensed in your soul when you transformed. The madness that Kishin recognized and fled from. Beside her, Sakura stiffened. Naruto felt the temperature in the room drop several degrees. I don't know what you mean, she said, but the lie was weak, transparent. Lord Death was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed, a sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Spirit, leave us. You too, Hannelore. I need to speak with your partner alone. But, Sakura started. It's okay, Naruto interrupted, placing a hand on Sakura's arm. I'll be fine. Wait for me outside. Sakura looked unconvinced, but Spirit was already ushering her toward the door. The last thing Naruto saw before the massive doors closed was her partner's worried face, and she held onto that image like a talisman. When they were alone, Lord Death's demeanor changed. The cartoonish cheerfulness faded, replaced by something ancient and weary. He floated closer to Naruto, studying her with eyes that had seen the birth and death of countless souls. You carry the madness of hatred, he said. It wasn't a question. Naruto's breath caught. How did you? I am Lord Death. I have walked among souls for longer than your species has existed. I know the taste of madness in all its forms. He hovered before her, his presence immense and terrifying. The madness of hatred is particularly dangerous. It feeds on negative emotions, grows stronger with every perceived betrayal, every moment of rage or despair. And you, young Uzumaki, have been feeding it your entire life without even realizing it. I didn't choose this, Naruto whispered, her voice breaking. It was given to me. Before I was born. A curse from my ancestors' enemies. My Gigi tried to help me control it, but it's always there, always hungry. I know. Lord Death's voice was surprisingly gentle. I can see the battle you fight every day. The walls you've built. The way you cling to light and laughter to starve the darkness. He drifted back, giving her space. You've done remarkably well, all things considered. But the madness is growing. I could sense it even before your transformation. It's becoming impatient. Naruto looked up at him, fear and desperate hope warring in her eyes. Can you take it away? Seal it? Destroy it? No. The answer was immediate and final. The madness is part of your soul now. To remove it would be to destroy you. He paused, his expression becoming serious. But it can be managed. Controlled. Accepted. The key is resonance. A true partner, one who accepts you completely, darkness and all, can help you integrate the madness rather than fighting it. Sakura, Naruto breathed. Yes. Lord Death's eyes bore into hers. She accepted you once, when she knew only part of the truth. But the full truth, the danger you pose, the corruption you carry, that may be more than her gentle soul can bear. You must tell her, Naruto. Before your partnership deepens further. Before the madness uses your secret against you both. And if she rejects me? Lord Death was silent for a long moment. Then you will have to find another way. But I urge you not to let fear dictate your choices. The madness thrives on fear. On isolation. On the belief that you are alone and unlovable. Your only chance is to prove it wrong. Naruto left Lord Death's chamber with the weight of the world on her shoulders. Sakura was waiting outside, her face brightening with relief at the sight of her partner. What happened? Are you okay? What did he say? Naruto forced a smile. Nothing. Just orientation stuff. About being a new student. The lie tasted like ash in her mouth. Come on. Let's go home. As they walked away from the Death Skull, Naruto made a silent promise to herself. She would tell Sakura the truth. Soon. Just, not yet. Not when they were still finding their rhythm. Not when Sakura was still looking at her with that beautiful, trusting gaze. Tomorrow, she told herself. Or next week. When the moment was right. The madness inside her stirred, almost purring with satisfaction. It knew better. It knew that, not yet, could stretch into forever, that fear would always find a reason to delay. And every day that passed without confession was another day it could grow, another day it could whisper its poison into Naruto's ear. She'll leave you, it whispered. They always leave. Better to enjoy this while it lasts. Better not to ruin it with truth. Naruto shook her head, trying to dislodge the voice. She focused on Sakura beside her, on the warmth of their linked hands, on the simple miracle of having a friend. It was enough. For now. It had to be. That night, Sakura sat alone in her dorm room, staring at the ceiling. She couldn't stop thinking about the transformation. The blade Naruto had become, it wasn't like any weapon she'd ever seen or studied. It radiated power, yes, but it was wrong power. Corrupted power. The kind that left a stain on the soul of anyone who wielded it. And yet it had saved her. Naruto had looked at death in the face and shattered it, all because Sakura had screamed her name. That meant something. It had to mean something. A knock at her door made her jump. She opened it to find a familiar figure, a girl with vibrant blue hair and an ego the size of the academy. Black Star? Sakura blinked in surprise. What are you doing here? The self-proclaimed superhuman strode into her room without waiting for an invitation, throwing himself onto her desk chair with the grace of a cat. I heard about your mission. About your partner's little freak-out. His red eyes studied her with unusual intensity. What happened out there, Hannelore? The rumors say Uzumaki turned into something scary. Something that made a Kishin run. Sakura bristled. Naruto saved my life. That's what happened. Yeah, heroics, I get it. But that's not what I'm asking. Black Star leaned forward, his expression uncharacteristically serious. I'm asking because I felt it. All the way across the city, I felt that wavelength. It was wrong, Hannelore. Wrong in ways that made my soul want to fight. Sakura was silent. She didn't know how to answer, didn't know how to explain something she didn't understand herself. Black Star watched her for a long moment, then shrugged and stood. Fine. Keep your secrets. But tell your partner this for me, if that wrongness ever points at innocent people, I'll be there to put her down. The great Black Star doesn't tolerate monsters. He was gone before Sakura could respond, leaving her alone with his words echoing in the silence. Monsters. Was that what Naruto was? Was that what she carried inside her? Sakura thought of the way Naruto laughed, bright and unguarded. The way she insisted on walking Sakura to her classes even though they were in opposite directions. The way she'd thrown herself between Sakura and death without a moment's hesitation. No. Whatever darkness lived in Naruto's soul, it wasn't her. It was something else. Something she fought every day. And Sakura would be damned if she let anyone, even the great Black Star, call her partner a monster. But as she lay down to sleep, Black Star's words wouldn't leave her. Neither would the memory of that dark blade, gleaming with crimson light, speaking with a voice that wasn't quite Naruto's. For the first time since they'd become partners, Sakura felt a tiny seed of doubt take root in her heart. She hated it. She tried to crush it. But it was there, growing in the darkness, waiting for the right moment to bloom. 2 weeks passed since the mission in Sector 7, and neither Naruto nor Sakura spoke about what had happened. The transformation, the dark blade, Tora's fleeing words, all of it hung between them like an unspoken truth, a shadow that lengthened with each passing day. They trained harder than ever. Sakura threw herself into researching resonance techniques, dragging Naruto to the library after classes to study obscure texts on wavelength synchronization. Naruto practiced her partial transformations until she could shift her arms to blades in the space of a heartbeat, until the motion became as natural as breathing. But whenever the subject of the full transformation arose, whenever Sakura's questions edged too close to that night, Naruto would deflect with a joke or change the subject entirely. Naruto. Sakura's voice was soft but persistent. They were in their usual spot in the hidden courtyard, the autumn leaves beginning to turn gold and crimson around them. We need to talk about it. About what? Naruto didn't look up from the leaf she was shredding absently between her fingers. You know what? Sakura set down her sketchbook, her violet eyes fixed on her partner with an intensity that demanded attention. The transformation. What Tora said. The way Lord Death pulled you aside after. She paused, choosing her next words carefully. I'm your partner, Naruto. Whatever it is, you can tell me. Naruto's hands stilled. For a long moment, she said nothing. The autumn wind stirred the leaves around them, carrying the faint scent of smoke from somewhere in the city. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. Do you remember what I told you when we first met? About my soul being complicated? Sakura nodded. It's more complicated than I said. Naruto looked up, and Sakura's heart clenched at the raw vulnerability in those blue eyes. There's something inside me, Sakura. Something wrong. It's been there since before I was born, a curse passed down through my family. My Gigi called it the madness of hatred. The words hung in the air between them. Sakura felt her breath catch in her throat. It feeds on negative emotions, Naruto continued, her voice gaining a hollow quality, as if she were reciting words she'd heard 1,000 times. Rage. Fear. Despair. Betrayal. Every time I feel them, it grows stronger. Every time I give into anger, it whispers that I should hurt back, should make them pay, should destroy. She clenched her fists, her knuckles whitening. I've fought it my whole life. Built walls around it. Tried to starve it with laughter and kindness and hope. But it's always there. Always hungry. Sakura's mind raced, processing this information. The dark blade. The wrongness Black Star had sensed. Tora's recognition. It all made a terrible, coherent kind of sense. Is that what happened during the mission? She asked quietly. When you transformed? Naruto nodded, not meeting her eyes. I heard you scream, and something inside me just broke. The walls came down. The madness took over. She finally looked at Sakura, and there were tears tracking silently down her cheeks. I could have hurt you. If it had decided you were a threat, if its hunger had turned in your direction, I could have killed you, Sakura. The confession hung between them, heavy and terrible. Sakura should have been afraid. Every instinct of self-preservation screamed that she should step back, put distance between herself and this dangerous creature wearing her friend's face. But looking at Naruto, at the terror and shame and desperate loneliness in her eyes, Sakura felt something else entirely. She felt understanding. I'm not afraid of you, she said softly. Naruto's head snapped up, disbelief written across her features. How can you say that? After what I just told you? After what you saw? Because I saw you. Sakura shifted closer, reaching out to take Naruto's trembling hands in her own. I saw that thing, that madness, take over. And do you know what it did? It protected me. It drove away a monster that was about to kill me. Whatever that darkness is, Naruto, it's part of you. And you, the real you used it to save my life. That wasn't me. That was the madness. It was both. Sakura's grip tightened. Don't you see? The madness could have done anything in that moment. It could have turned on me. It could have rampaged through the city. But instead, it listened to you. It responded to your need to protect me. That means you have more control than you think. Naruto stared at her, hope and fear warring in her expression. You're not going to leave. The question was so small, so vulnerable, that it broke something in Sakura's heart. She thought of all the years she'd spent alone, believing herself too weak, too gentle, too nothing to ever matter to anyone. She thought of the way Naruto had looked at her that first day in the courtyard, not with pity or dismissal, but with genuine wonder at the beauty of her soul. No, Sakura said, and the word was a vow. I'm not leaving. I'm your partner, Naruto. That means something. Naruto's composure shattered. She collapsed forward, burying her face in Sakura's shoulder, her body shaking with sobs she'd held back for years. Sakura held her, saying nothing, just letting her partner release the weight of secrets too long carried alone. They sat like that until the sun set and the stars emerged, two girls holding each other in the darkness, bound by something deeper than resonance or partnership. Bound by trust. The next morning, Naruto woke with a lightness in her chest she hadn't felt in years. Telling Sakura the truth, really telling her, not just hinting at it, had felt like removing a stone from a wound. It still hurt. The madness was still there, coiled and waiting. But the isolation was gone. She wasn't fighting alone anymore. They walked to class together, shoulders brushing, their souls humming in easy synchronization. Other students noticed the change, the way Naruto's perpetual grin seemed less forced, the way Sakura held her head slightly higher. Partnerships in the DWMA were more than just combat arrangements, they were bonds of the soul, and everyone could sense when one had deepened. Uzumaki. Hannelore. The voice cut through the hallway chatter like a blade. Professor Stein stood outside his classroom, his ever-present screw glinting in the fluorescent light. His eyes, half hidden behind his glasses, fixed on them with that disconcerting analytical intensity. A moment, please. They followed him into his classroom, where the usual clutter of anatomical models and scientific equipment had been pushed aside to make room for a single desk and two chairs. Stein gestured for them to sit, then settled himself on the edge of his own desk, long legs dangling. I've been reviewing your mission performance, he said without preamble. Specifically, the resonance failure that preceded Uzumaki's uncontrolled transformation. Sakura stiffened. It wasn't a failure. Yes, it was. Stein's voice was mild, almost conversational, but his words cut deep. Your wavelengths touched, but they didn't truly synchronize. If they had, Uzumaki's transformation would have been controlled, directed. Instead, her soul defaulted to its most primitive defense mechanism. He fixed his gaze on Naruto. The madness. Naruto felt the blood drain from her face. How do you? I'm a scientist. I study souls. Stein pulled a small device from his pocket, the same wavelength measurer he'd used during their registration. And I've been studying yours since the moment you arrived. The readings are unprecedented. Your soul contains two distinct wavelengths, layered atop each other like geological strata. One is bright, warm, fundamentally healthy. The other is cold, dark, and growing. Naruto's hands clenched in her lap. Beside her, Sakura reached over and covered one with her own, a silent gesture of support. I'm not telling you this to frighten you, Stein continued, his voice softening almost imperceptibly. I'm telling you because I've seen this pattern before. In Kishin. In those who eventually became Kishin. The madness always grows. It always seeks to consume its host. The only question is whether you learn to control it before it controls you. How? The word burst from Naruto, raw and desperate. How do I control something that's been trying to destroy me since before I was born? Stein was quiet for a long moment, his fingers drumming thoughtfully on his knee. Then he stood and walked to a bookshelf, pulling down a thick, leather-bound volume. This is a record of every documented case of madness infection in the DWMA's history, he said, placing it on the desk before them. There aren't many. Most who carry madness don't survive long enough to seek help. But those who do. He opened the book to a marked page. They all have one thing in common. A partner who accepted them completely. Not despite the madness, but including it. Sakura leaned forward, studying the page. It contained a single name, a date, and a brief description. Subject 47, Meister Akemi Tanaka. Date of infection, unknown. Date of integration, 3 years post-infection. Notes, Subject 47 was infected with the madness of despair during a mission gone wrong. For 3 years, she fought the corruption alone, growing increasingly isolated and volatile. Integration became possible only after forming a soul resonance with her weapon partner, who accepted the madness as part of her. Subject 47 remains stable and continues to serve as an active Meister. The partner died in combat 6 months post-integration. Subject 47 has not relapsed. The partner died, Naruto whispered, reading the final lines. And she didn't, the madness didn't. The bond was that strong. Stein closed the book. The madness feeds on isolation and rejection. When those are replaced by acceptance and connection, it loses its power. It doesn't disappear, it can't, but it becomes manageable. Integrated. He looked at Naruto, and for the first time, there was something almost like warmth in his cold eyes. You've already taken the first step. You told your partner the truth. Most never make it that far. Naruto looked at Sakura, who was still holding her hand, whose gentle soul was wrapped around her own like a shield against the darkness. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, she could win this fight. What do we do now? Sakura asked. Stein's lips curved into something that might have been a smile. You train. Not just resonance, but deep resonance. Soul perception at its highest level. You learn to enter each other's inner worlds, to face the darkness together. He pulled a piece of paper from his pocket and slid it across the desk. This is a training regimen I've designed specifically for your situation. It won't be easy. It may even be dangerous. But if you're serious about saving your partner, Hannelore, it's the only path. Sakura took the paper without hesitation. We'll do it. Good. Stein stood, signaling the conversation was over. Report to Training Ground 7 at dawn tomorrow. We begin then. They left the classroom in a daze, the weight of what they'd just learned settling over them. But beneath the weight was something else, hope, fragile and new, but real. The training was brutal. Stein pushed them harder than any instructor had ever pushed them, demanding precision and control that seemed impossible. Hours of meditation to deepen their soul perception. Exercises designed to force them into resonance under stressful conditions. And always, the threat of what they were working toward, the moment when Sakura would have to enter Naruto's inner world and face the madness directly. You can't defeat it, Stein told them on the third day, after a particularly grueling session that had left them both exhausted and trembling. That's the first thing you need to understand. The madness isn't an enemy you can kill. It's a part of Naruto's soul. Fighting it would be like fighting your own shadow. Then what do we do? Sakura asked, wiping sweat from her brow. You accept it. Stein's voice was quiet, almost gentle. You look at the darkness and say, I see you. I acknowledge you. You are part of the person I love, and I will not reject you. It sounds simple. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. That night, Sakura lay awake in her dorm room, staring at the ceiling and thinking about Stein's words. The person I love. Did she love Naruto? Not romantically, at least, not in the way the term usually meant, but something deeper. Something that transcended the usual boundaries of friendship. She thought about the first time she'd seen Naruto's soul, blazing like the sun in the middle of that crowded hall. She thought about the way Naruto had looked at her in the hidden courtyard, seeing not weakness but gentleness, not loneliness but kinship. She thought about the dark blade, gleaming with crimson light, and the voice that had emerged from it, not Naruto's voice, but somehow still hers, still fighting to protect. Yes. She loved her partner. In the way that mattered most. The realization brought tears to her eyes, but they were not tears of sadness. They were tears of determination. I will save you, Naruto, she promised silently. Whatever it takes. Whatever I have to face. I will not let the darkness take you. Across the campus, in the boys' dormitory, Black Star sat on his windowsill, staring out at the night sky. His partner, Tsubaki, sat cross-legged on his bed, watching him with patient concern. "You've been quiet all week," she said softly. "Ever since you talked to Hannelore." Black Star didn't respond immediately. His mind was still processing the wavelength he'd felt that night, the wrongness of it, the challenge it represented. The great Black Star feared nothing, but that didn't mean he was stupid. That wavelength had been dangerous in ways he didn't fully understand. "Her partner," he said finally. "Uzumaki. There's something wrong with her soul." Tsubaki nodded slowly. "I've sensed it too. A darkness beneath the light. I'm going to confront her." Black Star's voice was flat, devoid of his usual bravado. "Find out what she really is. If she's a threat to the academy, to my friends." Black Star. Tsubaki's voice was gentle but firm. "You can't just confront someone based on a feeling. Hannelore trusts her. Stein is training them personally. If Lord Death hasn't acted, there must be a reason." "Maybe." Black Star's red eyes glinted in the moonlight. "Or maybe everyone's too busy being understanding to see the danger right in front of them." He stood, stretching with the fluid grace of a predator. "I'm not going to attack her. Not yet. But I'm going to watch her. And if she slips, if that darkness points anywhere it shouldn't, I'll be ready." Tsubaki said nothing. She knew better than to argue with Black Star when his mind was made up. But as she watched him stare out at the night, she couldn't shake the feeling that something terrible was coming. Something that would test them all. The convenience store on the corner of East 4th Street was open 24 hours, a fact for which Naruto was profoundly grateful. It was nearly midnight, and she couldn't sleep. The training with Stein had left her exhausted but wired, her mind spinning with possibilities and fears. She wandered the aisles aimlessly, picking up items and putting them down again. A bag of chips. A bottle of soda. A magazine with a headline about Death City's most eligible meisters. Nothing held her interest. "You look lost, kid." The voice came from behind the counter. An old man with kind eyes and a weather-beaten face was watching her with amused curiosity. His name tag read, Kenji, and his soul was warm and steady, a normal human, Naruto realized. No weapon energy. No Meister training. Just an ordinary person living in an extraordinary city. "Just can't sleep," Naruto admitted, wandering over to the counter. "Training's been rough." Kenji nodded knowingly. "DWMA student, huh? My grandson goes there. Bright kid. Always talking about soul wavelengths and resonance and such." He chuckled. "I don't understand half of it, but it makes him happy." Naruto smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. "What's his name?" "Takeshi. Takeshi Yamamoto. You probably don't know him, he's just a first year, like you." The mention of first years reminded Naruto of something. "Do you know Sakura Hannelore? She's in the EAT class." Kenji's expression shifted, something like sadness flickering across his features. "The Hannelore girl? Yeah, I know her. Comes in sometimes late at night, just like you. Buys sketchbooks and pencils. Quiet as a mouse." He shook his head. "Poor kid. Her parents used to come in here all the time. Good people. Strong meisters. When they died." He trailed off, sighing. "She's been alone ever since. Until recently, anyway." "Recently?" Kenji smiled at her. I'm guessing. She's different lately. Happier. Still quiet, but there's light in her eyes that wasn't there before." He reached under the counter and pulled out a small wrapped package. "Here. On the house. Consider it a thank you from an old man who hates seeing young people suffer alone." Naruto unwrapped the package to find a small rice ball, still warm. Her eyes stung with sudden tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "Get some sleep, kid," Kenji said gently. "And take care of that girl. She needs you." Naruto left the store clutching the rice ball like a treasure. The night air was cool against her skin, carrying the familiar taste of dust and distant copper. But for once, that taste didn't bother her. It was the taste of home. She was halfway back to the academy when she felt it. A soul. Wrong and familiar and hunting. She spun around, her right arm already shifting to blade form. The shadows at the edge of the street seemed to writhe, and then a shape emerged, limping, wounded, but unmistakable. Tora. The cat-like Kishin had healed somewhat since their last encounter, but it still moved with a halting gait, one arm hanging slightly wrong. Its yellow eyes fixed on Naruto with a mixture of fear and hunger. "You," it hissed. "Little madness bearer. I've been watching you. Waiting." Naruto's heart hammered in her chest. "If you're here for a rematch, you're going to be disappointed. I'm not alone anymore." Tora laughed, that horrible tittering sound. "Oh, I know. The gentle Meister. Your precious Sakura." It circled her slowly, staying just out of blade range. "But she's not here now, is she? And I'm not here to fight. I'm here to offer you something. I don't want anything from you. Not even freedom." Tora's eyes gleamed. "I can feel it, you know. The madness inside you. It's so like my own, and yet so different. Mine drives me to consume, to destroy. Yours just wants to be loved. Pathetic, really." It paused, tilting its head. "But I know a way to give it what it wants. A way to make the hunger stop." Naruto's blade arm wavered. "What are you talking about?" "There's a place," Tora whispered, its voice dropping to a conspiratorial murmur. "A place where madness gathers. Where those like us can find community. Acceptance. No more hiding. No more fear of hurting the ones we love." It extended a clawed hand, palm up, in what might have been a gesture of peace. "Come with me. Let me show you." For one terrible moment, Naruto hesitated. The offer was everything she'd ever wanted, a place where she didn't have to hide, where the madness wouldn't make her a monster. Where she could be herself without fear of rejection. But then she thought of Sakura. Of the way her partner had held her in the courtyard, had promised to stay, had looked at the darkness in Naruto's soul and refused to flinch. She thought of Gigi, who had raised her with love despite the danger. She thought of the old man in the convenience store, thanking her for being Sakura's friend. She thought of love, and the madness inside her stirred, not with hunger, but with something else. Something almost like peace. "No," she said, her voice steady. "I have a place. I have a person. I don't need your community." Tora's face twisted with disappointment and rage. "Foolish child. You think your little Meister can protect you from what you really are? You think love can conquer madness?" It laughed, the sound turning bitter. "I thought the same thing, once. Before I learned the truth. Before I became the truth." It backed away, melting into the shadows. "This isn't over, little madness bearer. The darkness always finds its own." And then it was gone, leaving Naruto alone in the empty street, her blade arm trembling, her heart racing. She ran back to the academy. Not away from Tora, she knew the Kishin wouldn't return tonight, but toward something. Toward the one person who made the darkness bearable. She found Sakura in their courtyard, sitting under their tree, sketchbook open on her lap. She looked up as Naruto burst through the bushes, her violet eyes widening with alarm. "Naruto? What happened? Are you okay?" Naruto crossed the distance between them in 3 strides and collapsed into Sakura's arms, burying her face in her partner's shoulder. The rice ball fell forgotten to the ground. "I saw Tora," she gasped between shuddering breaths. "It tried to, it offered me a place. With others like me. A community of madness." Sakura's arms tightened around her. "You didn't go." "No. I thought of you. Of us." Naruto pulled back just enough to meet Sakura's eyes. "I chose you. I will always choose you." Sakura's expression softened into something so full of love it hurt to look at. She reached up and cupped Naruto's face in her hands, wiping away tears with her thumbs. "And I choose you," she whispered. "Every time. No matter what." They sat like that until dawn, holding each other under the gnarled tree, their souls wrapped so tightly together that even the madness couldn't find a place to insert its poison. When the sun finally rose, painting the sky in shades of gold and rose, they walked to training ground 7 hand in hand, ready to face whatever came next. Neither of them noticed the figure watching from the shadows of a nearby building. Black Star's red eyes followed them until they disappeared from view, his expression unreadable. He had heard everything, Tora's offer, Naruto's refusal, the declaration of choice between them. And still, he wasn't satisfied. She chose right tonight, he thought. But what about tomorrow? What about when the choice isn't so clear? He melted back into the shadows, his decision made. He would continue to watch. And if the day ever came when Naruto's darkness pointed at innocent people, when her choice wavered toward the madness that lived inside her, he would be there. The great Black Star didn't break his promises. Not ever.